The 2025 Berlin Marathon just happened, and if you're like me, sitting at home with FOMO and you're interested in running 2026, this video is for you because we'll go into all these details. Hey runners, and welcome to my channel. My name is Letty and I do a bunch of these videos on all things major marathons. So if you are interested in any of the 7 and soon 8 marathons, then subscribe to my channel and I will keep you updated with everything you'll need to know. All right, so today we're going to talk about how to get into the 2026 Berlin Marathon, because even though the 2025 marathon just happened, it's already time to try to register for 2026. Note how I said try to register. It's because it's hard to get in, but we're going to talk about all the ways that you have to get in. Also, if you watch this video till the very end, I'm going to tell you my secret hack of getting a guaranteed entry to the Berlin Marathon. But before we hop into lotteries and all the different ways of getting into the Berlin Marathon, let's first talk about the deadline. The application period for the Berlin Marathon is lengthier than most marathons, which, in my own humble opinion, makes it harder to remember to register. Officially, you've been able to sign up for the Berlin Marathon since September 25 of this year, and the window for applications closes on November 6th. So right now, it's September 30th. You still have a little bit more than a month to go, but don't delay. There's no reason to not apply if you've made up your mind about wanting to sign up. Don't forget, because you don't want to be stuck at home with FOMO like I was. Now, why Berlin? Well, if you're chasing the majors and Berlin is one of them, then I guess that's just on your bucket list. For me, Berlin has more of a personal connection. For those of you guys that know me from my channel, you know that I am half German, half Ecuadorian. I grew up in Germany until age 15, but I didn't run back then. Like most teenagers, I was focused on other things like smoking and drinking, which the drinking age in Germany is 16. So don't judge me, but you get my point. However, fast forward, obviously I cleaned up my act and went to Germany to run, and it was a very, very nostalgic experience, especially because you're talking about Berlin and there's so much history in that city. So to me, being there was pretty emotional in that sense, especially the part where you're running unter den Linden, that big boulevard that takes you under the Brandenburg Gate, the Brandenburger Tor. That really made me emotional. If you know anything about my country, Germany, you know that the reunification happened in the 90s. And 3 days before, on September 30th of 1990, it was the first time that marathoners were allowed to run that path of Germany. And so every time I'm visiting Berlin and there, or if I'm watching the marathon on television, that's what I think about. And to me, that's just really powerful. All right, let's take a break. Kidding, I can handle it. Anyway, the other thing that's super great about the Berlin Marathon is that it's a fast race. It has 13 world records, I think. I think it's pretty much up there with Chicago. And I can personally attest to that because I ran a 3:18 marathon on both courses with the exact same effort. So I feel like both courses are really, really fast. Obviously, that only goes if you have great weather. This year's weather was in the 70s, so not really a PR day. But you get what I mean. It's a fast course. Bad weather can follow you anywhere. But if you're looking for a fast course, that's definitely one to consider. Now let's hop into how to register or try to register for the Berlin Marathon. You can do it via lottery, just like with most major marathons. Obviously, when we're talking lotteries, every race is different when it comes to number of applicants and how your chances are with that. And obviously with the boom and influx of runners, that changes. But I can give you a little bit of statistics from last year just so you know what at least the chances were if you had applied for the 2025 marathon. Last year, the Berlin Marathon received 170,000-ish applications, and out of those, 35,000 were drawn for lottery spots. Obviously, Berlin prides itself in having a larger race with 50,000 runners. The other 15,000 spots are allotted to other ways of getting in, and we'll hop into those. But yeah, so 35,000 people got in out of approximately 170 applicants, which, if you can do the math, that's 20%. 20% is 1 in 5, right? So if you're sitting there with your runners and you're all planning on running the Berlin Marathon, 1 out of you 5 will make it. Statistically speaking, obviously, you can still have better luck than that, but that's how it is. To do that, you have to start an account and register yourself. And then if you are drawn, you get to go to Berlin. Easy as that. When will you hear back whether or not you won the lottery? That's going to be towards the end of November. Now, there's another type of lottery that will get you into the Berlin Marathon, and it's called a team lottery. A team lottery means that you have 2 or 3 runners that all want to run the race together, and they are willing to travel together, but not necessarily want to run the race alone. So if you and your 2 friends want to run this, or you and your 1 friend, you and your husband, you and your wife, whatever, if you want to run the race, but you want it to be either both of you or neither of you, then that's the way to do it. Again, by registering an account, the first person that registers the account selects that you want to get in via team lottery, and that person then gets a team code that he shares with the other runners that want to join his or her team. Then when the other runners are ready to register as well, they just have to use the correct team code. Now, when the team is drawn, every single runner of the team will participate. I don't think that they set that up that teams have a better chance at getting in than regular runners, because obviously they can alter that of how these teams are drawn and how many chances there are. I'm sure they make it pretty fair. We're German, we're fair people. So I don't think that's a way of tricking the system, but it's a great way of getting in with other runners if you want to do it all together the same year. Now, note that if you are registered with other runners and the other runners cannot run, that has absolutely no effect on your own run. So if you have 3 people signing up for the team lottery and only one of you ends up going to Berlin, so be it. Also, there is no team ranking. So if you run as a team, it doesn't matter how fast or slow you guys are, you will not be ranked against other people. It kind of just works as a way of getting runners in together if they want to travel together. Now, the next way of getting into the Berlin Marathon is by running with a time qualifier or a fast pass, as I used to joke about it. And that fast pass allows you to bypass the lottery for a guaranteed spot if you are one of the fast runners. Now, note that you have to have run the qualifying time within the last 2 calendar years. So for 2026, your race will be from 2024 and 2025. And the time has to be from an official marathon and a certified course. So you can't do any running challenges or submit Strava events, obviously, just like with any other qualifying time. Let's talk about the times that you have to have achieved in order to be able to get that guaranteed entry. So if you are a female, up to age 44, you have to run a 3:10 or faster. If you're a female between 45 and 59, you must have run a marathon at a 3:30 pace or faster. And last but not least, if you're a female of age 60 and up, you have to have run a 4 hours and 20-minute marathon or faster. Now, if you're a man up to 44 years of age, you have to run a marathon in 2 hours and 45 minutes or faster. Now, between the ages of 45 and 59, you have to run a 2 hours and 55 marathon or faster. And last but not least, if you're a man 60 years or older, you have to have run a marathon in 3 hours, 25 minutes or faster. So as you can see, these times are blazing fast. If you can make it in that way, then don't ignore that and avoid the lottery and get your guaranteed entry. And if not, that's okay too. Maybe you'll age gracefully into those time qualifying slots. Now let's talk about option number 4 of getting into the Berlin Marathon. If you are a local Berlin person, a Berliner, and if you have a reduced fare public transport pass called Sozialticket S, then you can try to claim one of the 50 race entries available for Sozialticket S holders for only 50 euros. That's a great deal. The way to apply for this is by sending an email to sozialticket@scc-events.com. And in this email, you'll attach your personal ID as well as your Sozialticket to get the access code to claim this ticket. I have no idea when the deadline is for that. Hopefully it's not a first come, first served basis, and now this is all gone already. I'm not sure how the selection works with that. Now, moving on to our last 2 options. Obviously, for those who will not get in through the lottery and don't have a Sozialticket S, or have a Sozialticket S and they cannot get in with the Sozialticket S, you have 2 more options. One of them is by selecting a charity of your choice. When you do that, you commit to raise funds. And for the Berlin Marathon specifically, I've seen amounts between 2,500 euros and 4,000 euros. It is on the Berlin website where you find these charities. And obviously, if you have a cause that's close to your heart, you can select that charity, see how much money you have to raise. Again, we don't know The amounts always vary, just like with all the other marathon charities. But hopefully you'll get a spot, and that way you have your own guaranteed entry. Now let's move on to the last but not least way of applying for the Berlin Marathon, which is going to be through tour operators. There are tons of tour operators already for this race because this race has been around for a really long time. So they really know what they're doing when it comes to Berlin. There's a ton of history. These official tour operators will purchase bibs in bulk and often still have guaranteed entries available even after the lottery has been drawn. Obviously, don't quote me on that, but it is always smart to kind of do your homework beforehand because you know you only have a 20% chance in getting into that race. And if you really want to do that race, then it's always good to do your research as to charities and tour operators ahead of time. And just talk to them, see if there are any that are on contingent, meaning that you don't make it into the lottery. Then you can claim a spot through them. See if you can do that. And then you can just wait until you get your lottery results and hop on that. The way of finding tour operators, again, is through the website of the Berlin Marathon. These licensed tour operators are listed by continent and countries, and see what you can find there. I think the exciting thing about doing Berlin with a tour group is also that if you don't speak the German language and you usually don't travel by yourself, this is a great way of meeting other runners. And I'm assuming also that since this is Berlin, where there's a ton of history, maybe some of these tour operators have some really good city tours and provide you with a lot of information as to the location. So you're turning your race also into a very informative travel that you can really enjoy and walk away with a great experience with. All right, so now that you've watched this video to the end, I'm going to reveal how I am getting a guaranteed entry to the Berlin Marathon. I am entering the inline skating division because they do a marathon too. They do it on Saturday. And that resolves the problems for me of not being able to watch this marathon every time I run a marathon. I have so much FOMO of watching it because I'm a data nerd and I want to see who wins it and follow everything in the media center, and I can't do that. So this is a solution for me. I will be inline skating 26.2 miles the day before the marathon on Saturday. Do I know how to inline skate? I mean, I have inline skates that I got in the 90s as a teenager that I still own. Will I upgrade? Probably. Will I wear knee pads? Yes. And helmets. You have to bring a helmet. I don't even know how I'm going to pack all that because I travel carry-on only. But I think it's a great solution, and it is 26.2 after all. Not sure if I'm going to get a medal that looks like this. I mean, look at this one. It has Kipchoge on it. That was a gorgeous medal. But hopefully we'll get a marathon medal with one of these beautiful ribbons, which is the German flag, which you will never see on a real German. We don't wear German flags for the obvious reasons. But anyway, yeah, so that's my hack. That's how I'm going to be participating in the Berlin Marathon as an inline skater. If you want to join me, I'm going to do the fun wave, which is the very slowest one. I'm just going to have a lot of fun. So join me if you want to. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for more updates for all the marathon majors because all of them have this tight schedule of from when to when you can sign up. Again, remember the deadline to sign up for the Berlin Marathon is November 6th. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time.